Welcome to Off the Scale, the podcast where we dive deep into the journeys of the world's top short-term rental property managers. Join us as we uncover their secrets to scaling success, from pivotal milestones to the lessons learned through mistakes and triumphs. Hosted by Scale family members Damien Sheridan, Gianpaolo Vieiro, and Louise Brace. Off the Scale reveals what drives these leaders each day and the indispensable tools that propelled them to the top. Tune in for inspiring stories, actionable insights, and the ultimate blueprint for scaling your own short-term rental business.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Off the Scale podcast, where we interview some of the leading property managers from around the world and find out what's made them scale their business in the short-term rental industry. Today, I'm thrilled to have Enrique Alcántara, CEO and founder at Stay U-nique and president of Apartur. He's going to join me today, and we're just going to talk about his company and potentially about the situation in Barcelona. Enrique, welcome. Pleasure to have you.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
So lovely to see you again. Enrique, just for those of us who are not in Barcelona or Catalonia who don't know you, you're a local star there, but perhaps you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and Stay U-nique and where you came from over the last, say, 15, 20 years or less.
Yeah, I founded this company 20 years ago. On November, it will be a 20-year anniversary. We were a platform, an online booking platform, an OTA, kind of called Rent the Sun. And it was a fantastic business. We were operating in Barcelona, Madrid, Lisbon, Italy, many different places until Booking.com came and Airbnb came, right? And everyone that was an OTA at that moment or a platform, a booking platform, had to move their business because it was impossible to compete with those guys. So we moved into full management. Full property management, right? We were thinking, okay, where is the place that those big guys will not be able to enter? And that is cleaning the apartments, leading with interacting with neighbors, organizing operations, and so on. It's such a big complexity that we thought we could be leading that industry, and we would not be disrupted by the big players, by Airbnbs and Booking.com or lots of money coming from outside. And that has proved to be, I think, a good strategy with time, right? So many years after, the big guys are not having a relevant impact on full management, full property management. We love being close to guests and owners, being close to them and delivering the best service that we can. And it has worked out pretty well at this moment.
Amazing. Yeah. So your company has won, I see, Spain's leading serviced apartment brand for 5 years up until now, which is quite some accolade. What was so you started then in response to the OTA's kind of growth in our industry, and you decided to kind of double down on Barcelona. What was your initial challenge then when you were there at that point? Was it in terms of trying to get more inventory on or getting people to believe in your brand? What were the initial steps and perhaps obstacles that you had to overcome?
Yeah, I think that the most difficult part was on the supply side, on getting new inventory, getting new properties, getting new owners, because getting to them, knowing them, it's a very, very difficult market. It's very fragmented, very small property owners. They are not in any database. They are not listed anywhere. You just know the property and that's it, right? So on the supply side, it is difficult. On the demand side, it's super easy. You just deliver very good service, and then you get very good ratings on Airbnb or on Booking.com, and then the customers keep coming, right? You need to pay a fee for that. But we're okay. We're fine with paying the platforms their own fees. So it is the challenge is more on the supply. How to build inventory. I think it's one of the most difficult parts of our business, especially in places like Barcelona, where the inventory has been closed. The number of licenses has been closed for the last 9 years. You are not able to go to a property owner and convince him to take a license and start doing vacation rentals there, because that's not possible anymore. So you need to go only to the ones with an already existing license, right? And who are them? Where are them? It's very difficult, right? So you need to build your image. You need to build your personal brand, your company brand, differentiate on the level of service that you provide to guests, owners, and neighbors. And based on that differentiation, there's a lot of word of mouth, and I don't know. Then the inventory arrives at some point, but it is needed. I think it needs time. It's a lot of bootstrapping and very difficult to hit very high growth numbers in a small amount of time.
So you mentioned obviously the changes in Barcelona, and there are some changes potentially coming over the next few years. We'll talk about that in one moment. In terms of growth of inventory for you and Stay U-nique, I mean, that's extremely difficult given that you need to work with existing licenses. Is that something that you prioritize in terms of the growth of your company? Or do you see revenue or profitability? Do you kind of consider anything uniquely for Stay U-nique in terms of the growth and the scale of the company?
Well, there's many important things when focusing on scaling and growing, right? One of them being that the operations get more and more complex, and if you want to differentiate of the level of service that you provide, it becomes very difficult. It's very challenging, right? And that's a very hard thing to do, to scale and keep the level of service at a very high level or even better, right? We've seen graphs on different presentations about people saying the more a company grows, the worse the service, right? So we try to make the opposite. We try to give better service, and that's one of the biggest challenges that we have and everyone has, right? Because it's so much easier to deliver a very good service if you just manage one property, right? You're focused on that, and you go welcome the guests, stay with them for 1 hour, walk them around, and so on, and that's very difficult to beat. But we try to do it, and I think we're succeeding. It's not been an incredible to high growth. I think it needs to be sustainable. I think that is one of the key elements.
There are going to be some people listening to this or watching this who aren't as big as Stay U-nique, and they'll be interested in your journey and perhaps any mistakes you may have made along the way. Are there any mistakes you would care to share with us? Maybe something that you think you could have done differently, maybe in the early days or further along.
I think I've done too many mistakes, probably, right? There's a lot of mistakes, but there's a lot of learnings also on the way. So with enough years afterwards, all those learnings are assets for us, and I think we can have a great company now thanks to those failings. For instance, one of the biggest fails probably was during or before COVID times, where we were taking master leases for important rents and so on, and not perceiving the risk of what would that mean in a COVID crisis or in a touristic crisis, right? And we suffered, and it hit us extremely hard, and we're still paying the loans for that, right? So that was one of the important learnings, which was in the end, what has happened in the past doesn't need to be a truth for the future. Having a crisis in tourism that affects 90% of the revenues can happen. This can happen, right? Yeah. And for instance, the changes in the regulations as well is been critical thing. We focused a lot also on scattered apartments, on fragmented inventory. I think that was a good move in some ways, because it was easy for us to differentiate from competitors. but also we should have probably had a bigger focus on another mix with more buildings, which are much easier to complete buildings, much easier to operate, and probably we have almost 50% of our inventory there, but we should have started probably earlier on that. I don't know. There can be, we could be speaking about mistakes a lot of times, right? Maybe accelerate, maybe bet on the right people earlier. I don't know. There's a lot of things. I think however, one of the biggest things or biggest things that we did right instead of mistakes was really betting on our employee engagement, on our satisfaction, on taking care of caring for our employees. I think that was a massive good thing that we did in the past, and that saved the company during COVID times, right? When everything was destroyed, the level of commitment and engagement from the team that we have was amazing, and that saved the company, right? So betting on the people and taking care of the people, I think, has been a great thing, right?
That's a wonderful message, Enrique. Yeah, and I think they've obviously, you valued them and they value you and your leadership, and they're kind of fulfilling the message from top down, yeah, and looking after your guests in turn.
Yeah, exactly. It all starts with the employee, right? In our industry, at least, that's our philosophy. In the end, we take care of our employees. We make sure we care for them, that they are having a great time with us, that they grow, they personally grow, and so on. And then service to the guests, service to the owners, service to neighbors. Everything comes right after. But it's impossible if you don't take care for your people, which is the most essential part. And also, I think there's been in the industry a little bit of avoiding, or maybe, I don't know if it's been a mistake from different people, but there has been a lot of focus on guests, on the guest experience, and there has not been any focus on the owner's experience, on the property owners. And I think that was a key success element for us, I think, as well, to put also the property owner at the center of the equation and try to maximize his satisfaction. Even, I don't know, our platforms, our website, I don't know, there's a lot of owner centricity there as well, right? There's the guest centric and also the owner centric. And it's absolutely critical, because in the end, our customer, you could say it's our guest, but it's also our property owner. And I think that is absolutely critical. And I think that is one of the elements that explains that we were successful.
Mm. We've spoken to several property managers, and something that regularly comes up in conversation is the difficulty perhaps in maintaining a relationship with some owners. Some are more tricky than others, and some require a bit more energy and perhaps at times a little bit of negative energy, and perhaps take up too much of your time. So given that, how do you deal with certain owners? Are you ready to let some go, or do you go out of your way to please all of your owners? How do you kind of maintain relationships with very different people, and people who work in very different ways?
No, of course you always need to take care to take into account the value, right? The value that you get out of the investment of the efforts that you make, right? And of course this equation needs to be in your favor, otherwise it doesn't make any sense, right? Or you're investing in a property owner that is not providing value to the company, and it's providing only costs and headaches. And I think we need to be extremely careful, because also that is important for our employees, right? You cannot burn an employee because of a property owner, or we need to try to avoid that to the maximum. We need to have as well property owners that are aligned with our company values, and the caring part and the respect needs to be working on in both ways. It's not only us taking care of them, it's also them taking care of us. I think this is a fair thing to ask, right? And we are more and more aware and on how is every relationship with every single owner, and try to make sure that we are only engaging into relationships that make sense and that are valuable for both sides, not only for one. The more you grow, the easiest it gets to do this, right? When you are too small, maybe you're too dependent on a property owner. And we try to avoid that, right? The reasons for growth in the end, one of the reasons is to get independence from any specific property owners. And so that you don't depend on them too much, and you can choose in the end, right? Who suits better your company. I think that's the first thing to do for ourselves. But also there's other reasons like having the best possible person perform a task and so on. So yeah, I don't know. I would say this.
That's an excellent point. We won't spend too long in regulation because I know you're heavily involved, but with your Apartur hat on and for all of those units that you effectively represent in the Barcelona area, how have things been for you over the last couple of months? I mean, it's almost like the whole short-term rental world and industry is looking at Barcelona and thinking, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Is this going to happen to us? And you are a leading name and voice there. We know it's coming everywhere. We don't necessarily expect such draconian announcements as what happened in Barcelona recently. What are your thoughts on this? How can we come together? Do we, what should our tactics and strategy be? Should we be more collaborative together as property managers? What are your thoughts overall?
Well, I think one of the lessons learned in the past has been that whatever happens in Barcelona, it happens elsewhere, everywhere else, a few years after, or a lot of years after, right? 18 years ago, we had the first ban of new licenses in the old part of the city. So the licenses that we have in the old part of the city, in the city center, are 18 years old or older. And we are starting to discuss some of these things in other cities, in other destinations at this moment, right? And we went through that 18 years ago, and complete provision of new licenses, banning of new licenses in everywhere in the city 9 years ago already, which was it's a long period. So and the first demonstration against tourism, one of the best, the beginning ones, was also here in Barcelona 9 years ago, 10 years ago, right? So I think the lesson is critical is whatever has happened here, think of your destination and it will happen. It will probably happen, especially if it's a urban destination, right? Not like a pure vacation, but more urban, more city centers. And this is what has happened. The issue in our industry is that it is very, very fragmented in terms of property managers and also from property owners. And coordinating everyone in defending our industry is very difficult. It's so much easier to do it from a hotel industry where you have, I don't know, 10, 15 big players, and they can have enough resources to do whatever they want. In our industry, it's very difficult. You might be one of the biggest players with just 200 units in your destination in a city in Spain, which is tremendous. In terms of properties, in Barcelona, we have 5,000 property owners of vacation rentals, average two units per owner. So it's extremely fragmented. So defending ourselves is very, very difficult, and we're seeing that. And also the players are very local; they are hyper local. So if you want to collaborate among different levels of regulation, so in your region, then national, and then European, then it becomes like absolutely impossible or very, very difficult, right? I think in Barcelona we've succeeded because we've seen problems a long time ago. So 18 years ago, we saw a risk in the regulation, and everyone came together very, very soon, all the property managers. And I think that is a success story, right? Because we were able to defend ourselves. We won on courts many times, most of the times. And this is where we're still fighting. But we consider ourselves one of the best associations probably in Europe, local associations of property managers. but we still need to be 10 times bigger here by involving all the 5,000 property owners, which is extremely difficult. But we're on that process, right? And having recent political news saying that they want to ban all the existing licenses and remove all the existing licenses makes it easier for us to get new members on the association, right? Every single day we are putting 2, 3, 4 new people in the new members in the association. So that is what is driving our defense better, right? It's been a very tough, not 2 months, I would say a year, a very tough one, but we've gone through that many times in history. But it has been challenging because it's been 1 year trying to avoid what was coming, what they wanted to do, but the pressure was so important. Hotel industry has been doing a tremendous job into spreading the message that vacation rentals are bad, that they keep raising the price of the housing prices and so on. And they've done a tremendous job doing that, putting a lot of money, and then we need to make sure we put the same amount of resources into defending ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the message is also not to let it get to a point where it takes something like this for people to start joining associations, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen it in other destinations, and we were recommending those destinations. Hey, you should regulate yourself first before it gets too much pressure from the outside. You should stop it. You should close the market. You should stop asking for new licenses, collaborate with the local administration, recommend them to stop it. But they were not doing it. They were just going more inventory, and then the problems come, right? So I think auto-regulation, there's some responsibility that also belongs to us, right? On all this, and I think we need to also make sure that we try to avoid problems ourselves. Don't wait for others to regulate us to stop the problems. Because we're also responsible for some of it, undoubtedly. So that's also another important lesson. Work on solving things before they become too big, right?
We've seen tourists being squirted with water. We've seen huge demonstrations on the streets. We've seen this announcement of a ban in a couple of years. Give us a message of hope here. What is going to happen? Can we fight this? Will this ban actually come into fruition? Give us a message of optimism here.
Absolute optimism. I have no doubt. And optimism is because of demand. Demand is so high. Ask any person under 25 years of age, where are they having their holiday this year? And 95% of them, they will tell you on not a vacation rental, they will say on an Airbnb probably. But that's a must. They don't go to hotels. The young people, they don't know hotels. They've never been to hotels. They don't pretend to go to hotels. They're extremely happy with the apartments, with the vacation rentals, and they grow older every single year, and therefore our demand keeps growing every single year, and it's a matter of time that we become the leading accommodation in the industry. Local administrations only need to choose if they want legal or illegal inventory to respond to that demand, and I think it's such an important wave of change of accommodation type that people are choosing, that the hope is there, and I think it's amazing. People keep trusting us. People keep going to vacation rentals more and more. They get excellent service, excellent value for the money they put. It's unbeatable. And I know that the hotel industry need to fight us. And that's normal. I would probably be doing the same if I was on their feet. So hope is there, demand is there. we've won everything on court. I think it's where we need to fight when the political level is so low that everything is populism and people regulate based on newspaper headlines and things like that. And it's very difficult to fight that with data and so on. It's very, very, very difficult. You just need to keep working, keep going to court, and yeah. At some point, all the politicians will be people that were young once upon a time, and they have been using Airbnbs or apartments since then. And therefore, it will be absolutely normal. It will become absolutely normal at some point. So it will come.
Wonderful, great message. Two questions we always finish up on, Enrique. Your company has grown significantly over the last 20 odd years. And you mentioned about operational systems and how you're always looking to improve. Are there any particular tools or services that your company uses that you could not do without to help you grow over the years?
Yes, I think regarding tool, we've built our own, for instance, our own PMS for the last 15 years. We've been working on that. Extremely hard work, and it can do everything we want, and it's amazing. It's fantastic, right? It's fully customized to whatever we need. But of course, we have been working with external smart locks that nowadays it's impossible that you manage properties without smart locks. You gain so much efficiency that's amazing. Also, pricing revenue systems, I think they're absolutely a must. And now we are engaging into chatbots because 95% of the questions that we keep getting are exactly the same over and over, right? So I would say these are probably the key elements or tools that we are using. Of course, communication tool, internal like Slack and so on, or Power BIs and so on. It's absolutely a must as well. I don't know. I think technology makes it so much easier to manage this business, right? Without technology, it would be so difficult. And I don't know. That would be my answer.
Yeah, that's great. And my final question, again, one we ask all of our interviewees: what does scaling mean to you and to Stay U-nique?
Scaling to us means becoming a much better company, right? I think in our case, it makes a lot of sense to grow. We need to grow. We need to scale if we want to make this a sustainable business over time and deliver better and better service every single time, right? For instance, revenue management. We cannot have a fantastic team of revenue management that make an amazing job optimizing revenues. Just managing 20 properties, it's impossible. We would not be able to afford that price to be paid, right? We would not be able to invest in technology if the company was too small. We would not be able to have the resources. We would not be able to have an outstanding operations manager in the company if the company was too small, or a finance department. So we need growth to get very, very good people that are able to do their job, and also we need it for engagement, right? A company growing is much more engaging for the company, for the people working there as well, right? So that's why we're scaling, right? It helps us, right? Scaling helps us become a better company, and we will not be able to do it with very few units.
Wonderful. Fantastic message to finish up on. Enrique, thank you so much for your time. If anybody wants to get in contact with you or are looking to join Apartur, how should they get in touch?
Yeah, anytime on LinkedIn, fully available, Enrique Alcántara, and then on Apartur, info@apartur.com. The best thing you could do now, if you're listening to this conversation and you're operating anywhere in Europe, in the world, whatever it is, join your local association vacation rentals, of property managers. You need to join that because you might seem to be in a very good moment at this moment, but you need to work together with your competitors and defend this industry. This is absolutely critical. We are operating in Barcelona, and we are on the local, of course, association. We're operating also in Malaga. We're launching now in Seville, and every destination we go, we join the local association because it's absolutely critical to collaborate to defend our industry there.
Super, yeah, and everyone shouldn't be waiting 18 years just to find out what happened in Barcelona. Enrique, thank you so much.
Exactly.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
So much, Enrique. Bye-bye.